Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Neapolitan is back. But more importantly, Neo is overrated. It's been nearly 3 years since we last saw Neo, as she was Mary Poppins'd away during the final chapters of Volume 3. However, despite Neo debuting during Volume 2, which was over 4 years ago at this point, and having little to no screen time in between, it seems like, while nothing has changed about her in that time, her popularity and overall appeal has only grown to levels that rival some of the more present and fleshed out characters of the series to date. I even conducted a small poll on the topic, and from the engagement, it would suggest that Neo being an overrated character is considered an unpopular opinion within the community. But why is that so? Why is it that a character who we realistically know nothing about and barely even see ascend to the ranks of appeal and attention like no other? Now, I personally feel like Neo is a bit overrated, but just because I think that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that for me, the character is missing a key factor that makes me want to like them, but kind of is preventing me from doing so.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like, your opinion, man.
Don't get me wrong, I want to love Neo, I just can't right now. But for this video, I aim to fill that gap while also sharing my opinions of what I feel is why so many people are loving and appreciative of Neo over the years despite us knowing little about her. Now, the best way that I can describe Neo prior to Volume 6, Chapter 3 is, in the best possible way, she is the definition of style over substance. Essentially, she is the rule of cool, which is the foundation in which the show was built upon. And if I were to ask why people like Neo as a character, you'd probably get the following responses. She's short and cute. She's a badass fighter. She has a cool design. She's mute and mysterious. Or insert potential headcanon here. Now, these are all valid reasons for why someone would personally like Neo, but at the same time, also very shallow in surface value. Where's the substance? What's her relationship with Roman Torchwick? What's her backstory up to this point? Why is Neo mute? And what is her relevance for the plot moving forward? Unfortunately, Neo currently lacks substance, and that's a big reason why I find it hard to admire her beyond what we've seen, when all she's really done is beat up 2 first-year Beacon students, which is hardly impressive. I mean, Emerald and Mercury beat up 2 second-year students, but I digress. Now, on the flip side, a lack of substance also means there's nothing there that we could potentially use in form of disliking Neo as of yet, which adds a lot of potential for hopes and expectations down the line. However, if you're like me and you've been around the block more than once, you know that overhyping, overestimating, or building a headcanon often leads to disappointment, especially if the story doesn't play out the way some people want it to. But in Neo's case, she has potential to be a better character beyond just her looks and her fighting style, and I think the latest chapter gave us a glimpse of that very possibility. So at the beginning of Volume 6, Chapter 5, we're finally reintroduced to Neo in a fantastic display of animation and choreography against Cinder. But for the latter half, we get an extensive look at Brunswick Farms, the place that Team RWBY and company discovered in the previous chapter, upon which we get a glance at a few family photos inside the house, and one that caught my attention. Whose house is this? Wow! Is that Torchwick? Yo! That little boy! Is that Torchwick?
What do you think?
He's got red hair!
Something doesn't feel right.
Dude! Is that Torchwick? Is that little girl Neo? So what this picture tells me is that each of these individual groups form the community known as Brunswick Farms, as it's related to the Brothers Grimm fairy tale of the Headless Horseman from Sleepy Hollow, which is depicted of having a pumpkin for a head. And this immediately brings Roman Torchwick to mind, as his emblem is that of a jack-o'-lantern, but also, it could also add up with the young red-headed boy in the photo being Roman Torchwick as a kid, but changing his last name slightly from Brunswick to Torchwick once he leaves the estate. And if this is to be a subtle backstory, it would make sense to feature Neo at the beginning of the chapter, with Torchwick during the latter, since 1, he's dead, and 2, until his death, him and Neo were always together. But we're not done there. To build on this theory, I also believe that the little girl at the center of the photo is actually Neo. And if this is true, that would mean that Roman had a mother and looks to be the spitting image of his father, while Neo had a mother, a father, and what looks to be an older brother and sister. Now, this would not only give us much wanted backstory for Roman, but also give us the first major form of substance for what would actually make Neo a proper character at this point. Having a backstory of learning her relationship with Roman that goes far back to their childhood, living together on this farm, and most likely living happily until tragedy drives them to leave. But let's go even deeper. Why is Neo mute? Well, if we're to assume that the corpses have been preserved from the cold weather conditions over the years, we can assume that, similar to Ren and Nora's situation, Roman and Neo were actually able to avoid being killed, but not at the cost of Neo's mind being traumatized by the entire ordeal. Seeing her mother, her father, her brother, and sister not wake up from their sleep, and ultimately being in shock at such a young age, is probably what rendered her to become mute up to this point. And similar to Ren, who also grew up in his own community, this could also be when Neo awakens her semblance. Again, as Ren states in Volume 5,
a common philosophy is that a warrior's semblance is a part of who they are. Some say your personality and character can define your semblance, while some claim that it's the other way around.
And from what we see of Neo's semblance, when she uses it, she shatters like glass. almost as if to reference what could be her shattered mental state of witnessing her entire family being killed as a child and having a semblance that embodies that which she's unable to express with words. Additionally, being orphaned and needing a way to survive would make sense for why Roman and Neo adopt the criminal world, as Mistral is heavily involved in their black market underground and lower class way of life. So by the time we see them in Volume 2 and 3, it's very clear that Roman and Neo have each other's back no matter what situation they're in. As Roman said in Volume 3,
"You're asking the wrong questions, Red. It's not what I have to gain. It's that I can't afford to lose."
Roman's willing to do whatever it takes to protect Neo, just as Neo's willing to do whatever it takes to protect Roman. Now for an added layer, take a look at Neo's design. Neo's design and color scheme is based off of the strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate flavors of Neapolitan ice cream, but if you look closely at the picture, it appears that her doll shares a bit of color similarity. So this could actually suggest that Neo incorporated one of her childhood toys when designing or coming up with her own design style, which would be a great form of characterization for Neo if this is in fact the case. But the icing on this cake and how this theory could all come together is based on what happens next with Neo. Sure, she's back, but what is she going to do now? Simple, she wants revenge.
Kill for kill, eye for eye, blood for blood, it's time to die. Retribution tastes so sweet.
With her only friend, her only family killed in the crossfires of Cinder's plans, the goal of Personal Vendetta is one that'll not only add more relatability and empathy for Neo's character, but it'll also be great to see how far Neo is willing to go to avenge Roman's death, and that, I think, is where we'll see her character truly shine. But overall, if this theory holds up, I think it would be a great way of showcasing that this is the substance that I feel that would truly make Neo a character worthy of admiration, not only from the stylized perspective, but having an array of substance to solidify her as a character that many people have already come to love, but also for people like myself who yearn for something more grounded and tangible when it comes to liking characters. But what do you guys think? Do you guys like Neo the way she is? Do you enjoy her without a backstory? Do you feel a backstory would make her a better or worse character? Let me know in the comments. Personally, based on my poll, I have a feeling and know that a lot of people were very opinionated when it comes to Neo as a character, and like I stated, this video is really kind of a discussion slash theory on my personal opinion about Neo, what I feel makes her a very lacking character at times, and what could kind of flesh her out a lot more and make her more of a worthwhile individual, and ultimately theorizing ways of how she can become better overall. You know, it's very clear that it is an unpopular opinion that Neo is overrated, so at the very least, if Neo is so popular now with no backstory, it's kind of baffling to see that that's able to be achieved despite her not having all of the stuff that I just theorized. But overall, I'd love to know what you guys think about her in the comment section. Please keep it civil, keep it respectful. I look forward to hearing all of your feedback and all of your thoughts on the matter. But thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Take care.